Let's take a look at how to make some calculations using Scratch. So suppose we want to convert a Celsius temperature here to Fahrenheit. The standard formula is to take 9/5 times the Celsius temperature plus 32. And order of operations is to do the multiplication and division as you see them from left to right. And then we can do the addition after that. Now, I could have written this as 32 plus 9/5 times Celsius, and that would be okay too, because I know that the order of operations is to perform the division and multiplication first. Now, the important thing about this is I have these two things that I'm adding here. And one of the things is a multiplication, and inside the multiplication, we have a division. So I want to arrange my Scratch blocks like that, thinking about the order of operations. So let's say we're going to ask for a temperature. And then we'll use that answer in our calculation. And then we'll say the result. Now we need to put together our blocks. We need an addition. And then in one side of that addition is going to be a multiplication. And it could go on either side, like I showed in my notes. And then inside the multiplication is going to be a division. So I'm going to start nesting these together. So I'm going to take the division, and the left side of the block you're inserting has to appear on the left side of the hole you want to put it in. So I want to line those up, and you'll see it light up. And then this multiplication block needs to go inside the addition. Either place is fine. And then in this case, I want 9/5. The answer is going to be the Celsius temperature, and then plus 32. So that should give the desired results. And then picking it up in the right spot is important if you want to move it, right? So you got to realize what is the outer operation here. It's the plus. And we'll give it a little starting point. So let's see what happens. So 100 degrees Celsius is 212 Fahrenheit. Be a good place to start. That looks good. And we could test another one, like 0 degrees Celsius should be 32. And 37 degrees Celsius is human body temperature on average, 98.6. But now you can't just put the blocks together in any order. So for example, if I pull these apart and just decide that, well, the division is the first thing I saw, and then I saw the multiplication next, and then the addition. And the answer, let's see, it would be 9/5 times Celsius. This is not going to work. And that's not the order of operations. It's the right operations, but it's in the wrong order. So 0, what? 100, right? Totally wrong answers. So I'm just going to explain why that's wrong, and then we'll try another example. Let's get a screenshot of this sucker. That didn't go well. All right, we'll do it without the screenshot. So again, wrong order. I had an addition. And then inside that addition, I put a multiplication. And then I put that inside the division. And then I had these blanks to fill in. And again, the Scratch blocks essentially form little parentheses. So you got to make sure you put them in the right order. So that does not match either of these up there. That's just not going to work when we try to put in the 9/5 Celsius plus 32. Because this would add 32 first, again, we're supposed to multiply first. After it adds, it would multiply by the 5. It's not what's happening up there. And then divide all of that by 9. Okay, so again, this is wrong. So you gotta be careful how you put the blocks together. Let's try another problem. Surface area of a box. So this would be something like a box. Here's my best 3D box. And let's say that's the length, and that's the width, and that's the height. Then this side over here is the length times the height. And there's a matching one on the back side. And over here, this side over here is the width times the height. And there's a matching one on the left side. And then the top here is the length times the width. And there's a matching one underneath. So there's 2 of each of those. So if I add each of these up, and after I add them, I double them. So this is one way to come up with surface area. So I want to put the scratch blocks together to make this happen. So let's think about that for a sec. There's a single addition where you can add 2 things. And if you want to add another 2 things, you need to nest those additions together. Outside this whole thing is a multiplication block. So I'm going to need a couple of addition blocks, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 multiplication blocks. Let's give it a shot. So let's get a new, let's just duplicate this guy. And in this case, we're asking for 3 different things. So I'm going to have to use some variables. So I'll rename that one as length. And then we'll need a width. And you could call them L, W, and H, but I like more descriptive names. We don't need to show it. And then I want a height. And I don't need to show it. So I'm going to ask for a width. And then I'm going to set the width to that answer. And I'm going to repeat that. And it would help if I spelled it correctly. All right, and then I'm going to ask for the length. And we'll set the length to that answer. And then we'll ask for the height. And then we'll set the height to that answer. So since I'm asking for more than one thing, I got to store them. And then I can try to do the calculation. And we'll say it. Starting over with my operators, I have a multiplication on the outside. We're going to have 2 times all of the stuff that's here. And in there is going to be an addition with another addition. So I have to nest the additions together. In this case, I'm going to throw that in the second spot, but that doesn't matter too much. What goes inside each of these addition spots? I'm going to put a multiplication inside each of those. All right, so I like to lay out my pieces and think about it before I put them together. I'm going to throw some variables in here. So I want to do length times width in one of them. And I want to do length times height in another. And then I want to do width times height in another one. So those are the 3 combinations. Length times width times height, and each of those needs to go in here. So I'm going to start on this side. Oops, carefully drop those suckers in. Make sure you put them in the right spot so they don't kick other blocks out. So don't let go until the right hole lights up. And all of this stuff, and again, you got to find the right place to grab it, otherwise you'll end up pulling it apart. Goes there. So that should be what I had, and we're just going to say that here. And let's calculate something and see how this is going to work. Let's do an easy one. Let's suppose I let them each be 10. So that would be 10 times 10 plus 10 times 10 plus 10 times 10. 10 there. So that's going to be a bunch of hundreds added up, which is going to give me 300. And then the last step is to double that. So I should get 600. So let's make sure we're making the right calculation here. Oops, I have both of them asking stuff. So let's turn this guy off. In there, since we're not using it at the moment. All right, so start width 10, length 10, height 10. Okay, so there's only a few ways you can put those blocks together to get the right calculation, and it's worth writing it out on paper and making a sample calculation to be sure you put the blocks together in the right order. Now, one other thing about that, let's pull it out. Usually we want to be a little bit more descriptive than that. So I'm going to use the join operator here and say surface area of your box is space, so it looks good. And then where it says banana, we'll put that in there. Now, if you wanted a period at the end, you'd need another block for that. So let's suppose we want a period. So we'd have to throw another join in to put the period at the end and then the answer in between. See how that looks. Nice, very professional. Cool. Thanks for playing.